Hi, I'm Jacqueline Mychaels, and I'll be reading an excerpt from my new book, Nameless. Chapter 1. No Name. Aaron's eyes swung listlessly towards the heavy prison door as it creaked open. Muffled whispers drifted through the gap, barely audible above the deafening silence of the lower dungeon. The words exchanged were brief, and the next second the door shut, cutting the voices off altogether. In the faint light that percolated through the tiny grate 20 feet above, he could just make out the figure. Despite the summer heat, it was dressed in a heavy wool cloak with a voluminous hood that obscured its features. A large oak staff rested in its hand with an easy intimidation. Had his execution not been scheduled for the next morning, Aaron would have assumed it was death. He made a sinister noise in the back of his throat and turned his back to the person who dared intrude upon his solitude. Visitors were the last thing he wanted now that his execution was so near. His chain, attached to a single iron band around his ankle, would have allowed more movement, but there was no place to go. For all the mercy that they had shown to a 15-year-old boy, visitors, a cell with a grate, the chain was the epitome of worthless posturing for the public. He had been condemned precisely because he was 15. Out of the corner of his eye, he noticed that the figure remained motionless, content to wait. It was an ancient rule, dug out of the town's dusty law books, that allowed him 3 years past his 12th birthday. 12 was the age when he was supposed to have taken a name in a highly formal ceremony that should have determined his future. It was the name that determined the apprenticeship he would take, and thus his life. Of course, for a select few, there were exceptions. Gentlemen of property were excluded, as their future was already set forth in their lineage. Women, too, did not need to demean themselves by going through the process, as they could merely marry into it. Neither did the poor farmers or serfs who were bound to the land. As for him, the son of a mage, living with his mother in a small house near the town square, it was simply expected. However, his naming had not gone quite as intended. When the naming mage had performed the appropriate spell that would compel Aaron to speak his name, nothing happened. He had opened his mouth, but no sound came out. As hard as he had tried, he had been unable to speak, and no name had been magically produced from his throat. In the past 3 years, the same procedure had been repeated 9 times, each with the same disappointing results. Now that the allotted time had passed, he had been condemned to death. Aaron grew annoyed. The figure in the winter cloak was not leaving. "Go away," he croaked. His voice was harsh and cracked as if he had not spoken for months. "Leave me in peace." The figure said nothing. It merely transferred the staff to its other hand. Aaron's annoyance sharpened into anger. This person, this thing, had no right to intrude upon his last hours in this world. After 32 days in prison, his solitude was all that he had left, and now even that had been taken. He whirled around, violence at the forefront of his mind. If they wanted him caged like an animal he would be. At least, he thought nastily, there was nothing more the guards could do to him, except read the crime of assaulting a visiting person at his execution. Perhaps they would even prohibit other unwanted visits. That would be a bonus. He allowed a wry smile to escape his cracked lips, the first since even before he had stopped speaking. The figure did not react. It just stood there, as still and menacing as ever. Aaron's smile contorted into an expression of rage. How dare it mock him? First the figure had stolen his privacy, and now it wanted his dignity as well. He lunged. The figure was too fast. With uncanny speed, it leapt out of the way, and Aaron fell forward onto the hard stone floor. He gritted his teeth and pushed himself to his knees. He had nothing left to lose. With the fall, now even his pride was gone. The only thing left him was the sound of the blood rushing in his ears and the burning hope of sweet revenge. As he reared himself to his full height, he saw the figure's face for the first time. The foot had fallen back, and Aaron felt recognition surge through his body. "Mother!" She smiled sadly and nodded in assent. Tears filled her eyes, and she embraced him warmly as if he had only been gone away a few hours on some innocent errand. It only lasted a moment before she pushed him away, a determined and frightened look across her face. "I'm sorry," she murmured softly. Her eyes brimmed with tears, but she managed to keep her voice level. "But it has to be this way." Aaron backed away, horrified and confused. He could not believe what she was saying. She wanted him to die. "Mother!" The words fell clumsily out of his mouth. "How? What?" Just as they had when he had tried to take a name, words failed him. For a brief moment she caught his eye. Her pale hazel eyes strove to convey the countless emotions she felt to her son. But there were not enough words in the world to express the depth of what she felt. She turned away. "Forgive me." Aaron opened his mouth, but there was no time for words. She lashed out with a heavy staff in her hand and caught him squarely across the chest. It was a relatively weak blow, but to Aaron, wasted from prison, it was as if he had been kicked by a warhorse. He staggered backwards, clutching his chest and gasping for air. He had no time to regain his breath when she came again. This time the blow landed on his temple. He yelled in pain as his legs collapsed beneath him. His eyes flickered up pleadingly at his mother, but there was no pity to be found in her face, only a cold, hard determination. The dim colors of the room blurred together, and he felt his consciousness slipping away. He felt warm arms try to catch him as he fell to the floor, arms that could only belong to his mother. In disgust, he tried to twist away, but he was too weak. There was no strength left in his body. "I have, and always will love you as my son Aaron. Please," she whispered with a quiet desperation. "Please forgive me." The rest of his mother's words were lost to the darkness as it took him.